he views things. And he is actually a trend leader, plus reader. Okay, leader as in he knows the trend, and at the same time he is able to predict some trends in the field of marketing and business. So unfortunately we couldn't open up the yesterday's sessions to all of you. It was very beneficial, in fact, for me in particular, in terms of reading the trends globally, not just the region, but around the world globally. So, therefore, that's the reason why I've actually particularly asked Dennis and Amy to actually organize today's session, because seriously, it's a milestone. I think in the history of MIS, we have not done anything like that. We have not. And this prof, actually, it's very, very well known. If you check it on Google, on Wikipedia itself, you know he is very, very known in his field of behavioral science and trend reading. Okay, so therefore, it's very unique, this course. I think among all the institutions in Singapore itself, we have been selected to be the institution to offer such courses. So hopefully with these courses, it will actually place us in a very unique position. So, you know, in marketing we talk about USP, right? Unique selling point, right? So this will be one of our USP. Okay? So moving forward, in fact yesterday's meeting, yesterday's sessions was attended by a lot of C-suite people. I think my staff, some of my staff are here. So his courses actually caters to a lot of senior managers, senior management, the CEO levels, directors. I was surprised. I was rather surprised at the turnout yesterday. So therefore, I think that gives you sort of an idea. His course, the value of his course itself. Okay. So moving forward, we will be seeing a lot of this senior management coming over to our side to pick up courses and lectures based on his repertoire of work. Okay, so please help me to actually welcome him here. And I believe one of our Senate will be around, Prof. Tan. Prof. Tan, I guess, need no introduction. Anyone doesn't know who is Prof. Tan, just put up your hand. It's okay, it's fine, you know, seriously. Good. Initially, when I stepped into MIS, I don't know. I heard about his name before. I saw his name appearing in one of the textbooks that we use. Marketing mentioned Asian perspective, right? That was like years ago. I was like, oh, who is this Prof from NUS? So Prof Tan is actually one of our founding members. And is actually also assisting Dr. Gan, which is the chairman of Senate right now, in the affairs of MIS. And on top of that, he is also the senior advisors to SMU, president of SMU. So it's also very strategic for us to align MIS with him. Okay? So I think he needs no further introduction. So please make him feel at home and sit down. Alright? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, just help me to give a round of applause to Prof. Tan, who is actually our very well-known Senate, and at the same time one of our founding members. And on top of that, the person who instrumented the whole collaboration between us and Prof. Sheth. So really thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and may I welcome our special guests, Prof. Sheth and Prof. Tan and Lillian, and our council members and colleagues, HODs, managers. And this is a very important day, not only for MIS, but for SLA as well. Now, it's a moment not only of historical importance, but of future importance to us. And this opens a new chapter in the lives of everyone sitting here, because one day people can look at the chart, the poster that we put up on the wall, the milestone that marks today's special occasion. And I'd just like to say that I'm most glad to meet the distinguished professors. And of course, I've seen Professor Tan, I've used his book, he looks as young as ever. The very first edition, The Asian Perspective Today. It's certainly a very honor to meet you, Prof. Tan. And of course, not forgetting Prof. Sheth, I have known your model since 1969, if I'm mistaken, John Howard. And I teach consumer behavior, and I always talk about your model, nothing else. That's what makes MI students special. So this day, we're going to invite two important persons upstage here for this very special partnership agreement signing ceremony. And may I invite President Roger as well as Prof. Sheth onto the stage to take a seat first. President Roger Wang, who's the Managing Director of Essential Works, is a very special entrepreneur in Singapore. If he says that he's number 2 in local language, no one can say he's number 1. 25 years as an entrepreneur. He makes a difference in events history in Singapore. He will continue to chart history for Singapore. He will be going to Sri Lanka to take the Singapore brand abroad to make us more important, more significant, to bring that brand of greater importance. And by the way, our President Roger is a black belt in karate. Don't make him angry. You don't like what's going to do to you. His organization has worked for many important clients: Sony Ericsson, M1, LG, banks like CIMB and so on. These are important organizations, well established, reputable and so on. And he has one motto in life: to embed your footprints that touch others' life as each day goes by. With that, may I invite President Roger to deliver his opening speech. President Roger, please.
Well, very good afternoon. Anyway, seeing Mickey on stage has always given me the assurance that the future of MIS is secure. He being our head of academic, imagine the students coming out from our MIS with this quality. So we're certainly very honored to actually have Mickey as our head of academic. And what more in sales, right? Certainly a very good sales and marketing person. Anyway, very good afternoon, everyone. And it's actually with great honor for me today for the signing of partnership agreement between the Marketing Institute of Singapore and Sheth Leadership Academy. MIS has been the national body for sales and marketing for the past over 40 years. And we are well and truly established as the leading provider of executive development programs in Singapore and around the region. In year 2013, MIS was voted to be the #1 most preferred sales training provider in the HR Vendor of the Year awarded by the Human Resources magazine. And moreover, our institute will also continue to serve the marketing and sales fraternity to fulfill its mission of connecting a community of marketers by creating more ample networking sessions and between our members and the industries. Now, today's signing ceremony signifies a solitary partnership between MIS and SLA. MIS will be launching a series of strategic management and marketing courses in year 2015. And this is in partnership with SLA. SLA features content derived from various talks and writing of Professor Sheth, and this is also to foster the cultivation of our future business leaders. Now, I'm confident with this initiative that it will be a big leap to groom our individual dynamics into the next generation of leaders who will be well equipped and skilled to take on the world stage. Now, MIS has been the forefront in offering up-to-date marketing, management and leadership education in Singapore market. This partnership with Chef Leadership Academy has advanced us towards providing a more unique, innovative, and trend-setting management insights for both our members and our clientele. Now, we are particularly very thrilled to be playing a pivoting role in shaping and nurturing the future leaders of Singapore and the region at large. Last but not least, I would also like to thank SLA and of course Professor Tan for providing us, MIS, this opportunity to work together with Prof. Chef. And this is just the beginning of a fruitful partnership. And we will certainly look forward towards more collaboration opportunities in our near future in nurturing a new generation of marketers. And with this, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Roger, for your very impressive speech. Professor Sheth is a renowned scholar and world authority in the field of marketing. He needs no elaborate introduction. His insight into global competition, strategic thinking, customer relationship management are considered revolutionary. If you think the late Steve Jobs is a man of future, you have not seen anything yet. Today, you're going to witness. The only occasion in your life today is to listen. And that already will take you in the next era. Professor Sheth has published more than 200 books and research papers in the area of marketing. It will take me another hour to read all his awards, distinctions, and experiences. But I will not go into that because you want to hear live from the man today. Professor Sheth.
Thank you very much for that extraordinary introduction. I hope I can live up to that. There is one difference between Steve Jobs and myself. I'm a lot shorter. I have been in the education field from 1963, started teaching at Columbia University. And my starting area was understanding psychology of customers, which is what we talk about as behavioral economics. As you know, economics discipline was primarily talking about rational man, as you used to call them, that you have to be very deliberative in the utility you receive from products and services in the marketplace and the price you pay. Whereas most consumers actually are as much emotionally driven as they are rationally driven. So that led to this theory that my professor and I started from 1962 actually, and we completed while we were at Columbia University, which came out with a different proposition. So the first rule of management, and I'll give the proposition, is to challenge an existing dogma or wisdom either in the industry or in the company. So economists would say consumers make choices, whereas we came out with the idea that consumers reduce choices rather than make choices. They become loyal, and the theory underlying is very important to link is the learning theory. Through experience, consumers, through feedback of satisfaction and dissatisfaction, begin to reduce choices and they become habituated. Today, brain research shows you that habit is more efficient and effective mechanism from the consumer perspective than shopping around. Isn't that interesting? Totally opposite view. This has been energizing me quite a lot. We had a strong research at Columbia University, multi-year, 14 doctoral students, about 10, 12 faculties, and that is an area where I began. I find one thing about education, why I'm in this business, is that the best way to learn is to teach. And therefore, anything new you want to learn, you must immediately say, I would like to teach. And so I have been able to diversify from consumer psychology as my area of interest into competitive strategy, multivariate techniques on the statistical side, and eventually now into globalization and emerging markets especially, which is also very different. I think this partnership is just wonderful for two reasons personally. At the request of Professor Tan Chin Thiong, I came to Singapore in 1981 first time as an external examiner for NUS Management School, and have been coming ever since. If there is any one ambassador for Singapore who is non-Singaporean, I think I would be number 2, just like Roger, because there is no number 1. It's the same reason. It is interesting. And I have known Professor Tan with his journey to start SMU here pretty much about 11, 12 years ago, and have been in touch. So I come to Singapore pretty often, and hence that's clearly one key reason. Other reason is that in the early days of MIS, I was involved in the beginning days. In fact, Professor Gan, remember, who is on your council, I think, is he still on the council?
Yes, she's the chairman
Yes,
also.
the chairman, right? And then Chin Thiong, we used to offer workshops and seminars through this MIS Institute, different locations. This was not my memory of the location. So there's a very fond connection with MIS going back almost at the foundation of MIS. And so because of those two reasons, SLA, Sheth Leadership Academy, and I have two great colleagues here. One is Lillian Cheng. So Lillian, I would like to recognize having you here as a good support. And Saurabh Anand, another great colleague. And we decided to therefore start this Sheth Leadership Academy. What it has are a series of high quality professional videos of content, lecture, and now we have converted it into courses pretty much. And we'll be offering those. Christina is leading the way, and we have a very good enthusiastic support from MIS, for which I'm very grateful to you, Roger, as a leader, as well as the MIS, the executive people who really run this place. I mean, we can bless it, but people have to run it, and those people are very important. And I'm very excited. This will at least motivate me to come here more often now, right? That will be the key one. So I'm very glad, and I'm as excited as you are about signing this agreement between two organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sheth, for your very inspiring speech and very insightful as well. I think one of the most important things we take home with is that from his concepts, his philosophy, customers have reduced choices. And we want to do that exactly, because we want to only choose MIS and no other institution. One choice. We would now like to honor Professor Sheth, and we would like to invite President Roger to present a plaque in honor and in appreciation for his contribution into the field of marketing. May I have Professor Sheth, please?
I want to handle it delicately, to make sure.
May I invite the council members to join us on stage?
Oh, please join us.
And Prof. Tan. This is a happy occasion. Smile, please. Cheese. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We would also like to take this opportunity to confer upon Professor Sheth an honorary membership to MIS, which will enhance our status, obviously.
Great.
Thank you, Professor Sheth. Thank you, President Roger. So, welcome to MIS membership and to the organization. We have a lot of work for you in the future. We will also use a photograph.
There is no free lunch.
We'll throw in some bonus for you. Thank you for that. And we will now proceed on to the official signing of this partnership agreement. And may we execute the signing, please. Photographers, please capture this very important moment. The strokes of the signatures. The happy faces.
Different pens, you know.
Exchange of the agreement. Don't have any firecrackers in Singapore, it's illegal. So we shall applaud this occasion.
That's right. I think in the marketing field, especially in marketing education, marketing is being transformed by three very key external events. It's very contextual discipline. The biggest change is the rise of digital media and especially social media. For the first time in social media, the power has already shifted from the marketer to the consumer. So who is in charge? Marketer is no longer in charge about their own brand anymore. There are all kinds of social consequences of social media which marketers will have to be aware, because they'll be blamed for all the side effects of a great potent drug, essentially. One of the side effects that's very important for us to monitor, there are two of them. One is what I would call digital addiction. And this addiction of mind is as dangerous as addiction of gambling, essentially. And the psychiatry discipline is yet not mature enough to understand how the disease of mind that they can rectify, you know, or change. So we need to understand, is marketing going to a level where it becomes societally negative force rather than a positive force? And how do you manage this great medium that is created, which is very efficient? That's clearly one major change. Second big change, I think especially from Singapore perspective, is the aging of the population. And aging of the population is very real in Japan. There are fewer Japanese men this month than last month, and there's nothing they can do. Aging is going to happen in China much sooner than anybody imagined, for example. It will be very affluent aging. So how do you take care of this generation gap that is arising from a marketer viewpoint? And when a society ages, what are the new needs? For example, when I age, my biggest worry would be about health conservation, health preservation. That's a huge industry. In the US, it is already about 13% of the GDP, and in dollar amount, it has crossed $2 trillion. Largest single economy. I think it's bigger than GDP of India now, you see? Interesting. Or definitely Indonesia GDP. It's very important to understand that with change in demographics, what are the new needs? Everything we are now conscious about what we eat, diet, how we exercise. That's very clearly key change. And there are many more changes by the aging alone, which I've articulated. And the third is clearly the role of Singapore as a smart nation. Singapore always has been ahead of everybody. How can it therefore lead in the ASEAN bloc, and more importantly with China and India, which are the two largest markets and eventually largest political powers in the world, and how does Singapore become a strategic city? And therefore the role of marketing for the brand of Singapore becomes equally important. Singapore brand has to be refreshed, revitalized because of the strategic opportunities like any corporate brand will do. So those are the three areas that I think will be very interesting for us to educate, the managers.
Thank you, Professor Sheth, for your very, very interesting answer. Are there any more questions from members of the floor, audience? Today Q&A session is complimentary. It will cost you at least US $8,000 for the answer. So for only 10 minutes, all right, MI's giving the promotion. Please ask all your questions.
Any question?
Any questions? No? No further questions? You'd like to email a professor? That will cost you more. That will cost you more. Okay. Okay, with no further questions, we'd like to thank Professor Sheth and as well as President Roger for this ceremony. And if there are no further questions, thank you for attending. And we wish you all the best. And we hope for the best for everyone. Thank you. Yeah, dismissed.